Diary, hello. It is the middle of April 2023. You are looking at the unboxing of a Molocy smartwatch, and the background is that one of my students brought to me a fitness tracker, complaining that it was absolutely awful. I subsequently found that the fitness tracker cost £10, including postage. But before I found out that amazing fact, I'd started doing some research as to what one could get as a lowly priced tracker. And after considerable analysis, I didn't want a Apple Watch clone, because that's a visual clone of an Apple Watch with probably less features. What I wanted was something that one could actually use as a lowly priced fitness tracker. And the Molocy Smartwatch seems to be one of the candidates. And here it is in the flash. It's in shrink wrap, so I'm going to undo the shrink wrap first, and then we're going to do the unboxing, and then we're going to do some analysis of whether it's any kind of value. And for £20, just over £20, all I'm expecting is that it functionally works as a device and can perform some sort of fitness tracking. Here's the back. It's also known as the P32, by the way. I've seen that in quite some other literature. Displays 1.69 inches. The pixel resolution is 240 by 295. It's going to work with Android or iOS. And again, it's a 1.69 inch display, which is quite large actually. And it's Molocy, but it's also known as a P32. So this is called a Glory Fit Intelligent Sports Watch. Instructions are in colour, and we shall be looking at those later. I think Glory Fit is the name of the app. We've got a charger, we've got a watch, which, yeah, it straps already on. It's a very kind of supple silicone kind of coating here. So that is the unboxing. We're going to look at the Molocy smartwatch, and we're going to give it a whirl and see if it can perform and do what it says. It has a large number of sensors, including not just heart rate, but pulse ox and blood pressure, which is extraordinary. So we'll test the accuracy of those sensors. At this price point, it does not have GPS, but they say that you can, via your smartphone, get GPS. So if you do an activity, you should be able to get GPS from your smartphone. So that's it for now. Let's continue with the evaluation. Let's first of all look at the front of the watch. It's got a very supple strap. It is quite beautifully proportioned. It's not as big as, for example, a large Apple Watch here, but it's slightly smaller than the regular Apple Watch. On the back, we've got some sensors, and we've got these 2 points here that interlock with the charging cradle, which isn't magnetic, by the way, it just kind of plops on top. You have to really keep it there. But the strap is very subtle. So next is we're going to look at the actual operation of the watch and what it can claim to do. Okay, here we go. So press this button. So there's one button only that's on this right hand side here. You can't wear the watch in a different orientation. In other words, you can't say, oh, I'm going to wear it this way around, otherwise everything would be upside down. There's no way to change that. So I've customized the front screen. You can see we've got the time here. The watch faces are customizable via the Glory Fit app. So unlike other watches in this price point, which also use the Glory Fit app, this didn't seem to have a customizable watch face on the watch, but you can download watch faces from the Glory Fit app. Okay, so we're going to go into it. So there are a number of different gestures. You can swipe. So I'm swiping once. We've got the steps. We've got apparently kilocalories and kilometers. We've got heart rate, which it would read from my wrist. We've got blood pressure. Again, it's going to read that from my wrist in some magical fashion. We've got oxygen O2 sensing. Again, it's going to read that from my wrist. It's got control of any attached Bluetooth smartphones and music. So I have tested this, and it does work with with an Apple smartphone. Now this is the training icon, and inside this training icon are a pre-canned list of activities which I could not edit. Again, on other watches at this price point, the GloryFit app does allow you to set a number of activities and transfer only the ones that you want to the watch, but here the list is fixed. So it's got has got cycling, doesn't say if it's indoor or outdoor cycling, number of activities, and again we can come out and we're going to go back to the weather, which is going to get from your smartphone as connected. Then you've got sleep stats, and you've got messages. Those are the messages from your Bluetooth connected smartphone. Stopwatch, and then you've got to find your smartphone, so it's going to bing your smartphone to find your smartphone if you've lost it. So in the settings, it's very, very basic. I'm scrolling there, but there's nothing to scroll. So other watches, again, in that price point, have got a much bigger settings. Although let's see, this does not have that. Let's go into one of the trainings. So let's show you cycling. So this is 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then it goes into the activity. Now, on most fitness products, on most decent fitness products, so I'm afraid this doesn't include Apple, you go into an activity, and on most sports platforms like Garmin, you can configure what fields you want and what screens you have on a per activity basis. But on this platform, I'm afraid it's just not possible. So you're stuck with the activities that are listed, and you're stuck with the fields that show on those activities. So that's a major disadvantage. Okay, this concludes the actual features that are claimed to be on the watch. On the next part, I'm going to look at the actual evaluation of those features. Stop. Okay, so in the last part of this video, we are looking at the Molocy or P32 Smartwatch and an evaluation of the features it claims to be providing. And this is where my assessment comes in, and I'm afraid the assessment is rather negative. The main reason why it's a negative assessment is that I'm also testing another watch here, which has a slightly larger screen, much better settings, and has a slightly larger list of unbelievable sensors, but behaves slightly better than this watch. So, not that this watch is totally believable, but it is better than this Molocy P32. But we're going to go into this, and I'm going to give you my critical evaluation of some of the terrible flaws of this product. So the first thing is that you have a customizable screen here. You've got a customizable set-off time of 15 seconds, which I think is appalling. They could just make it any time that you want, but they choose not to do that. So it's set to 15 seconds, which is the maximum. You've got a pull down, which gives you a brief set of settings. But if you go into things like the settings, it's very, very basic. So that doesn't really help. If you swipe upwards, you get messages, and I'm afraid those messages are so small that I personally cannot read them. So that's not very helpful. Let's continue with the actual sensors that it's got. So the steps tracking. The steps tracking is actually fairly accurate. So this product does actually tell the time, and it does have a pretty accurate step tracker. By pretty accurate, I can say that I've worn it for a couple of days in a rather uncomfortable setting, wearing 3 or 4 watches at the same time and testing its accuracy. And on a day when I did 20,000 steps, it said I did 20,000 steps, and my other 3 watches also said I did about 20,000 steps. And for all the days that I've tracked it, it seems to be pretty accurate. So that's the good news. Moving on to the heart rate capability, I'm not going to say it's bogus, but it's pretty questionable. I've got quite a low resting heart rate. Normally it's at or below 40 beats per minute, and this does not ever show that rate. And when I'm exercising, again, the rate that it shows doesn't actually tally with a more professional watch, such as this rather expensive Garmin watch. So I'm going to say it's not total garbage, because when you are doing exercise, the heart rate goes up, but it doesn't appear to correlate with my actual heart rate. So I'm going to say between accurate and not very accurate, not really. But I'm going to say it's much more accurate than the blood pressure reading. So the blood pressure monitor, first of all, I don't really understand how it can possibly work, because blood pressure monitors normally work by constraining your blood flow until it stops and then releasing the pressure until it is able to start again. And obviously this watch isn't doing any of that. So I have no idea how it is supposed to be working. And the second thing is that it all seems to give just about, an average value, like 120 something over 80, something like that. So I'm not going to say it is making it up, but it's almost like it is making it up. I found it doesn't correlate to my actual blood pressure. I have a medical grade blood pressure monitor that I've been using for over 5 years. In fact, I've been using the Withings devices for over 10 years. And I use that medically certified blood pressure monitor, and it doesn't correlate to the numbers that this is actually reading. So I wouldn't take any store by the numbers that are set here. The O2 value, it comes up with a value of 90 something percent. And again, that is typical for most people. I really don't know if it's actually working or not. Most people's blood ox levels are in the 95 to 100% level, and this has been throwing out numbers like that. Music, that does work quite well. It is able to start and stop music that's playing on the iPhone, so that's a plus. Training, so you can't customize the number of activities here. You can't customize anything that's on the screen. And let's go into an activity. Walking, as an example, because it gives you a countdown. So we are walking. Not quite sure why we haven't started. Oh, there we go. So the main problem with this is that if you accidentally press this button, so you've got the watch on your wrist, you're performing an activity. Let's suppose you've actually got your sleeves down, and you sort of accidentally press this button, then it pauses the activity, and you may not notice that. So I've done that quite a few times, and basically that's the Achilles heel of this entire product when it comes to activity tracking, is that if you press this button and you don't notice it, it pauses the activity, so you're completely screwed. So because of that user interface failing, I would say that actually using this as an activity tracker, unless you always use it with short sleeves, is flawed. So I'm sorry about that. So in summary, it does do step tracking. It's got a nice customizable watch face here, which is just any old photograph that I chose. It does tell the time. It has good activity tracking, which does record an activity, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't use the GPS from your smartwatch, because there's no indication that it is doing so. And if you put the activity tracking on and then you remove the smartwatch, for example by closing the Bluetooth connection, there's no indication that anything has changed. So I'm pretty confident it isn't using the GPS of your smartphone. And so although the activity tracking works to a degree, it is basically just guessing. So and in terms of heart rate, that it is seeming to monitor your heart rate, but it doesn't correlate with my actual heart rate. The blood pressure and the blood ox, I think, again, to me, are guesstimates because they don't appear to correlate with the actual readings. So all in all, I would say this is okay as a step tracker. You can receive messages from your smartphone. I wouldn't trust it for activities, and it does cost £30. And it's not as good as this other smartwatch that I'm going to tell you all about in another video. So if I had to choose something at this price point level, I'm afraid I'd return this P23 and I would choose this guy instead. Okay, Derek, that's it for now.